week number 1. And what I'd like to discuss a little bit is about the post-op period, the healing period. We do surgery, and you see people on social media, and you may see them before surgery, and you see them right after the surgery, still on the table, and the thing that is that right on the table, they just had surgery. So let's assume they had a Lipo360, and be putting in fluid, inflate them, and we suck out the fat and the fluid. So they're much smaller, and they look much more defined. But in the healing process involves inflammation, swelling, and we tend to forget about, actually patients tend to forget about that. They tend to see themselves the way they want to see themselves, there's a gap that they miss, some people miss, I should say, between the pre-op to the definitive, the end point. And this is this gap, and that's what we need to address. Because in that gap, there's a healing process. And it's not one of the most comfortable healing process in terms of look, in terms of feel. And I just want to remind you, there is a healing process that do occur that you have to account for. And it's important that we go through, we all will go through the healing process, but it's important that you don't forget, well, I may be more swollen, I may be more stiffer, I may not look as my ideal during that healing process. So let's not forget about that. Because as we see, and I did this last week, where I can show you what she looks like before with my marking. But the point I want to make out, what I want to show her, she has these extreme folds on her back. They're definitely dramatically down from her surgery, and we can see this. The over her sacral here is firm and is swollen. The rolls are swollen, but the amount of fat on my pinch test, and it's a little hard to do this because she's full and inflamed, and she feels a little lumpy, and you will feel a little lumpy after liposuction. That is part of the healing process. That's part of the inflammation. But the healing process also is helpful too, because it allows the skin to contract. And you may or may not see this, but there are very fine lines going across, linear lines, and these are lines of contraction that we're actually seeing. And the body's doing this naturally. As the body, surgery is an injury, so the body responds with healing for that injury, which involves some production of collagen. The fibroblasts in your body produce the collagen, and she constricts. And the idea here is that, yes, she wears a faja and a constrictor, but let's remember the bucket concept. In the bucket, everything sits from the bottom, and the bottom where the support is. And so if I was to put a hole in the bottom of that bucket, the fluid would drain out. Well, that hole happened to be closed here. So most of her swelling is going to be in the lower area. As we see, this lower area is swollen. But you can see basically, and you can see her muscle through this. And due to the swelling, it does restrict some, and there's a lot of softness here, and a little bit of lumpiness. But this is where the fluid want to collect as she heals. So hopefully I can bring you along the journey as she heals to understand there is a healing process we cannot forget about. But ultimately, by 6 months after the healing process is essentially over, she will look fantastic. With that said, Lipo360 post-op week number 1. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.